Hello again. We are talking about secondary dominance now. If you may recall, we had a sight singing exercise that had like a weird accidental in it that didn't belong in the minor key. Had it been a minor exercise, I don't even know at this point, it doesn't matter. But it was like we raised fa up a half step, and I don't know the hand signal, but that's fa. We raised it up a half step and it became fi. And what we actually did there is we tonicized, there's your big word for the day, tonicized. So for just a moment, by making kind of a T-do situation, so rather than actually going T-do, which is our strongest dominant to tonic pull, we went fi so. And if you'll look, my vowels are the same here. Oh, interesting. I don't think it happens that way with everything, but this is a really common occurrence to see fi going to so. We are temporarily making so, whatever it is. Let's say we're in the key of good old C major. All right, so would be G. We're temporarily making it feel like we're in G major. So here's C major. I've got C. There's my subdominant 4 chord and my dominant. If you'll notice, if I change keys, I usually like to go to get our head into the new key. But if this is my dominant chord, a G major chord, the dominant function to that, if we're pretending this is do temporarily, in G would be a D major chord or D7 chord. But then this can still go back to our original home key of C major, right? This is one of the ways we can start getting into modulations, which is where you're actually changing keys. So a modulation is a form of tonicization. Oh, that's an even bigger word. But sometimes you can just have what are called secondary dominants, which means this is a dominant of this, okay, temporarily. I'm not going fully into G major. I'm just dabbling in it for like a chord or so, maybe 2 chords if I want. All right, but it's just temporary. We're not going to have a cadence there or anything like that. Okay, just to make things a little more interesting. So, secondary dominance again is the name of the game when we are tonicizing something other than the tonic. Secondary dominant. Which, if you recall from one of the previous videos, could be this chord. A dominant could be that chord. We're talking about function here. It could be one of those, could be like one of those. These are all dominant function chords. So these can all tonicize other chords. Chords we can tonicize. This one, no, that makes no sense. We're already in that key. This one, yes. In this case, we would be tonicizing a minor key. He who shall not be named can be tonicized, right? Subdominant. We're going to come back to that one. I'm going to leave that alone for just a second. You can tonicize the dominant with a secondary dominant. That's the example I gave you to start with. Your submediant. And this one we're also going to talk about because it's special. First off, let's go back to the subdominant. Let's pretend our favorite key of C. Here's a 1 chord. It's C major. I write it like this. Here's my dominant chord, G major. I write it like that. Let's say I want to tonicize my dominant chord here. The way I would write this, I'm just going to stick with, well, let's do a 7 chord. How about a half diminished 7th chord? This is how I would write it, with a slash. So I've got the chord that I am tonicizing on the bottom, and then the type of dominant that I'm using to tonicize on the top here. So in this case, I have to think, okay, what is this in the key of this? This key is G major. What's my leading tone in G major? It's F sharp. So I'm going to have F sharp, and I'm going to build a half diminished seventh chord. A, C, sorry, this is kind of weird. I'm leaning over the piano. And then E. Yes, that's a whole step from F sharp, just double checking. Yep, okay, that's a minor seventh, which means it's half diminished. Cool. All right, there's my secondary dominant. So without any attention to good voice leading practices, here's the C major chord, here's the G major chord, and here's the F sharp half diminished chord. See how it feels like it wants to resolve to that, but that's our ultimate home base, okay? So we would go somewhere else after that. We do want to still observe good voice leading practices when we resolve things like this. So because this is functioning as T, it needs to go back up to Do. Because this is a seventh, it needs to go down by step, right? And that's how I would do that. That would probably go down to that one, 2, and that would go down to that. Very nice resolution there. Let's do another one. Still the same key. Let's say we're in C major. All right, here's my one chord. Let's say I'm going to go to the subdominant. But I'm not going to go there initially. I'm going to go ahead and tonicize it right away. So I'm going to leave a little blank here, and then we're going to go to 4, and then ultimately resolve to 4. Forgot to write my Roman numeral over here, resolving to 5. Let's say 5 of 4. Okay, 5 of 4. Let's try that. So 4 chord would be FAC. What's the 5th in the key of F major? It's C. Ruh-roh. What do we have here? This is the exact same chord. This is what I wanted to show you. We cannot have a secondary dominant of our subdominant because that is your tonic, all right? The other no-no is tonicizing leading tone chords. And the reason we don't tonicize this is because this would put us in a Locrian key, which we definitely don't want, okay? We'll stick with major and minor only, okay? So again, your possible secondary dominants, all your chords in the dominant family. 5, 5, 7, 7 as a triad, 7 as a seventh in whatever format you please, half diminished or fully diminished, okay? Things you can tonicize would be 2, 3, not 4, 5, 6, not 7. 4 keys to tonicize 2, 4 approximately with options, dominant chords to pick from to tonicize those.